Hi there, I'm Mike, and what I have for you today is Star Wars The Black Series L3-37, or L3 for short, because saying L3-37 over and over again is going to get really old really fast. Go ahead and take a look at a picture of her while I read the bio on the back of the box. A self-made droid built from astromech and protocol parts. L3-37 is an enlightened navigator who cares deeply about droid rights. Not a lot going on in that bio, but that's pretty much the gist of who she is as a person. Here she is out of the package. L3 was introduced in Solo: A Star Wars Story as Lando's co-pilot and maybe girlfriend. She is a staunch advocate for droid rights, which is something I've always felt was necessary after seeing what happened in A New Hope when Wooher the bartender kicked R2 and 3PO out of his bar for just being droids. It's about time the public was woke to droid rights and flesh privilege. Starting off the review with looks, which is where I always start. What does she look like? Does she look like she's supposed to? And the answer is yeah, she thick. L3 is basically the droid embodiment of every negative woman stereotype. You know, all the things that people hate Barbie for, they should hate her for, but it kind of works, weirdly enough. She's got a very small midsection, ample chest, thick thighs, and very tiny feet. She's mocapped and voiced by Phoebe Waller-Bridge, and since she's a CGI droid, she doesn't look anything like her. The question is, does this figure look like what she looks like on the screen? And the answer is yes, for the most part. The biggest problem I have is actually in her face. While they got the shape and everything right, they're missing that just something that brings out the spark of life that L3 had on screen. And I think it's because they didn't paint any lights or anything up there. If they had just put a little bit of paint application in that black blank bar right now, it looks like she's dead. And that's sad. If they had just put some kind of white or yellow paint in there just to make it look like she had something going on her face, it would have gone a long way. Despite that, I'll give it a 0.75 in looks because she really does look like she should, despite looking dead. So moving on to accessories, what did she come with? And are there things that I could think of that she should have come with but didn't? The answer is, she comes with nothing. She comes with absolutely nothing. To be fair, I also really couldn't think of anything she should have come with but didn't. I suppose if I sat down and scoured the movie, I probably could have come up with something like maybe that little saw attachment that came out, you know the one I'm talking about. And even though she comes with nothing, I guess that's kind of okay because she is a droid. She is a thing. And things can't have things. So I'm gonna give it a half a point because I'm not gonna give it the full point for coming with nothing, but I'm also not gonna give it no points for coming with nothing. I feel like that's fair. So let's mosey on over to Articulation and take a look at what that looks like. Her head moves side to side. It actually separately moves up here as well. It also has a little bit of a waggle. It moves forward a bit and back a bit. Her arm moves kind of out this far, but it also moves forward and back on a butterfly kind of joint, but it's just a ball socket. It moves all the way around. It has a very small amount of bend at the elbow, as well as an elbow swivel. Her wrist has a swivel and a hinge. Her torso has a swivel. It moves forward this much and back this much. Her hips have some forward and backwards movement. They move forward this much, back this much. She has a single jointed knee and a hinge at the foot, or whatever this is. With this being L3's widest stance, just period. So let's start off with the good. The good, she's got a great range of movement in her head, in her shoulders, in her hips, in her torso. There is just a crazy amount of movement in there. Things that you can't do with a normal person because a normal body just doesn't move like that. And that's fantastic. I like it when they can get away with doing fun stuff like that. I wish they could have done it more. But let's talk about the bad, because there is some bad here. And the bad is, in my opinion, pretty bad. First of all of these wires and things just get in the way. She has movement at her elbows, but the wires are so in the way that it's almost meaningless to even have. In fact, when I was exploring the articulation that she did have, I broke one of the wires that attached her upper arm to her forearm. It's not really noticeable if you just look at it and I don't point it out. I see it now every time. In fact, hopefully I'll find another one in the wild and I can just do my old swap out. But honestly, if I don't think it'll be the end of the world. So she's a little fragile, which is always scary when it gets to articulation. But that's not the worst part. The worst part are her tiny feet at the end of these really long popsicle stick legs. Yes, you can angle them in weird places, but the feet are so tiny that she just falls over constantly. I have a really hard time getting her just to stand up normally. It's really annoying. I've just kind of come to the point where I've started leaning her on things because I just can't get her to stand up. Even when I can, the slightest little bump or motion or breath of air just kind of pushes her over because her feet are just too small. So despite all the good with this figure articulation wise, because I initially thought that this was going to be awful. When I first pulled her out of the package, I thought, oh man, this is going to be terrible. It actually ended up pretty good, except for the fact that, you know, she can't stand up. So despite all the good that she has, those flaws are enough to take her down to 0.25. So let's move on to sculpt and paint, and that's an area where she, just looking at her, is obviously going to excel at, and she does. I'm not going to dock her for what I docked her before with the face looking dead, but just looking at her from head to toe, she is essentially a hodgepodge of cables. She's cables inside, her head is supported to her body on cables. She's got cables running through her midsection. She's got cables on her arms. She's got cables coming down on her legs. She's got servos. She's got controllers. She's just got all kinds of stuff, and everything is sculpted and painted in great detail. Each one of these little cables feels like an individual piece of a much larger puzzle, and it's fantastic. Honestly, her midsection is a work of art just by itself. It's just kind of sad because one of her greatest strengths, the detail in the cabling and things like that, is also her weakness because it makes her a lot more fragile than she should be for a toy. So I'm gonna give it a 0.75. It's just something that I have a hard time overlooking. So let's talk about want and availability. Did I want her before I saw the movie? No, I mean, I always like a good droid. Droids are kind of fun to have on your shelf. But after I saw the movie, oh man, did I love her. I loved everything about her in the movie. Yes, she was an annoying droid advocate, and I think it was purposeful. She was a caricature of just the absolute worst. That insufferable person that won't shut up at the party and talks your ear off about politics and stuff, that you just want to go away. She was that person, and they didn't really portray her in a positive light. Everyone was pretty much annoyed with her, and she eventually died for what she believed in. And so I thought it was a pretty fun kind of little aspect, and that actually moved the story along. It became a fun little Easter egg in the rest of the Star Wars mythos when she became essentially the nav computer for the Millennium Falcon, and that's just fun. So yeah, I definitely wanted her as a character. I do have to say though that when they did announce her and I saw her, I was a little scared that she was gonna be flimsy and hard to stand, just like IG-88. And even pulling her out of the package, I was like, oh man, I don't know. I was only half right about why. I mean, she still does because she has tiny feet, but it's not because she has flimsy parts. And that's a big step up from my G88 for sure. In terms of finding one and availability, she's just part of the normal wave that's currently hitting stores. You can also get her online like I did. She's number 73 in the line and shouldn't be too hard to find. So I'm gonna give her a 0.75 in terms of want/availability. And that gives us a final score of 3 out of 5. Probably the worst of all the figures that came out in this wave, but not bad by any means. Pretty mediocre, but she's got a lot of great stuff in here. She's just held back by a lot of flaws. Honestly, if you don't care about Solo, you don't care about droid rights, she's probably an easy pass. But if you want your Lando to have the girlfriend he deserves, then I feel like you'd probably enjoy her a lot. So that's it for my L3-37 review. What did you think of her? Did you agree with me? Did you have her? Are you passing on her because of this? Or are you getting her because of this? Let me know in the comments down below. I love to read and respond to all of those. There's also a bunch of ways in the downstairs area that you can support my channel if you want to. Like, share, subscribe, you know the normal things that people say at the end of every YouTube video because that's just how YouTube works. And that's it. Thanks so much for getting this far, and I'll see you later. Bye. Okay, now I'm recording for real. I am for real. Never meant to make the doctor cry. I apologize a trillion times. I'm sorry, Miss Jackson. Ooh. I am for real.